They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't planned at all. It's handed to you on a silver platter by the very person who tried to destroy you. My name is Sarah Williams, and I'm 28 years old. 6 months ago, I was just another face in the corporate machine at Sterling and Associates, one of the most prestigious consulting firms on the East Coast. Today, I'm telling you this story not because I'm proud of what happened, but because I want you to understand how quickly everything can change when someone underestimates you. It started on a Tuesday morning in March. I remember because it was unusually warm for the season, and I'd worn my favorite navy blazer, the one my grandmother bought me when I graduated from Wharton with my MBA. I thought it would be just another quarterly review meeting. I was wrong. Before I tell you exactly how Marcus Thompson's arrogance became the foundation of my greatest professional triumph, could you take a moment to like this video and subscribe? Because what I'm about to share will show you how a single racist comment can cost someone their career and a company $50 million in revenue. Trust me, you'll want to see how this unfolds, especially the moment when karma came knocking at his corner office door. The conference room was packed that morning. 23 people from the sales and consulting teams, all seated around that massive mahogany table that screamed, "We have money, and we want you to know it." I was presenting the quarterly numbers for the Davidson Industries account, my account, the one I'd been nurturing for 18 months, the one that had grown from a $2 million contract to a potential $50 million expansion. I'd worked 80-hour weeks on Davidson. I'd flown to Chicago 17 times in 6 months. I'd missed my brother's wedding rehearsal because Mr. Davidson needed to see revised projections on a Friday night, but it was worth it. The numbers were beautiful. Revenue up 340%, client satisfaction scores through the roof, and most importantly, Davidson Industries was ready to sign the biggest contract in Sterling and Associates' history. I was 3 slides into my presentation when Marcus Thompson, our VP of Sales, decided to interrupt me. "Sarah," he said, not even looking up from his phone, "let's cut to the chase here. We all know Davidson only wants to work with you because you check their diversity boxes. African-American woman, MBA from a fancy school, you're exactly what they need to show their board they're being inclusive." The room went silent. I mean dead silent. You could hear the air conditioning humming. Someone's coffee cup clinked against the saucer. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure everyone could hear it. But Marcus wasn't done. "Don't get me wrong," he continued, finally looking up at me with that smug smile I'd grown to hate. "You do good work. But let's be honest about why you're really here. You're a quota hire. Davidson Industries has diversity requirements for their vendors, and we needed someone like you to check those boxes. That's just business." I stood there, frozen. 22 pairs of eyes were staring at me. Some looked uncomfortable. Others looked away. A few, and this is what hurt the most, were nodding in agreement. "Marcus," I said, my voice steadier than I felt, "I've increased Davidson's operational efficiency by 47%. I've saved them $12 million in the first year alone. I think my results speak for themselves." He laughed. Actually laughed. "Results? Sarah, you're a nice girl, but let's not kid ourselves. Davidson's success has everything to do with the processes we already had in place, and very little to do with your involvement. You're the face they put on their reports to make themselves look good. That's it." Something broke inside me in that moment. Not my spirit. That stayed intact. But something else. Maybe it was my faith in fairness. Maybe it was my belief that hard work always pays off. Whatever it was, it shattered right there in Conference Room B, in front of 22 colleagues who said nothing while I was being reduced to nothing more than a diversity statistic. I closed my laptop, gathered my papers, and walked out. But here's where the story gets interesting. As I was walking down the hallway toward my office, my phone rang. Unknown number, Chicago area code. Sarah Williams speaking. "Ms. Williams, this is James Davidson. James Davidson, CEO of Davidson Industries. The man whose company was about to make Sterling and Associates very, very rich. Mr. Davidson, what can I do for you?" "Well, first, I wanted to thank you for the proposal you sent yesterday. The board reviewed it this morning, and we're impressed. Very impressed. I stopped walking. I'm glad to hear that, sir. But I'm actually calling about something else. We've been doing some strategic planning, and we've decided we want to expand our relationship with Sterling beyond this current project. We're looking at a comprehensive partnership: operations consulting, digital transformation, supply chain optimization, the whole package. My hands started shaking. I knew what this meant. This wasn't just the $50 million deal we'd been working toward. This was bigger. Much bigger. That sounds exciting, Mr. Davidson. I'd love to discuss the details with you. Actually, that's why I'm calling. My board has specifically requested that you be the lead consultant on this expansion. They were blown away by your work on the efficiency project, and they want to make sure you're the point person for everything moving forward. I had to sit down. There was a bench in the hallway, and I collapsed onto it. Mr. Davidson, can I ask, how much are we talking about for this expansion? Well, we're looking at a 5-year partnership. All told, we're prepared to invest about $200 million in consulting services. And Sarah, we want to do it exclusively with Sterling, but only if you're leading the team. $200 million, with me as the lead. I was still processing this when Mr. Davidson continued. There's something else. We've been so impressed with your work that we want to discuss bringing you on as our Senior Vice President of Operations. We're prepared to offer you a compensation package that I think you'll find very attractive. Sir, I'm not sure what to say. Don't say anything yet, just think about it. We're flying in next week for the contract signing. Can we schedule some time to discuss this opportunity? I agreed, hung up the phone, and sat there in that hallway for 10 minutes, trying to process what had just happened. Marcus Thompson thought I was a quota hire, a diversity token, someone who was just lucky enough to be in the right demographic at the right time. But Davidson Industries, a Fortune 500 company with operations in 37 countries, had just offered me a $250 million partnership and a VP position because of my work, my results, my value. The irony was beautiful. I walked back to my office and spent the next hour thinking, not about whether I should take Davidson's offer, that was obvious, but about what I owed Sterling and Associates, what I owed Marcus Thompson, what I owed myself. By Thursday, I had made my decision. I scheduled a meeting with Marcus for Friday morning, told his assistant it was urgent. When Friday came, I walked into his office with a folder full of documents and a smile on my face. Marcus, we need to talk. He barely looked up from his computer. What is it, Sarah? I'm busy. I know you are. That's actually what I wanted to discuss. Davidson Industries called me yesterday. That got his attention. He leaned back in his chair, suddenly interested. Oh yeah? What did they want? They want to expand our partnership, significantly. His eyes lit up. I could practically see dollar signs reflecting in his pupils. How significantly? $200 million over 5 years. Marcus stood up so fast his chair rolled backward and hit the wall. $200 million? Sarah, that's incredible. This is exactly what we needed. The board will be thrilled. When do they want to meet? Well, that's the thing, Marcus. They want to meet with me. Specifically me. They want me to lead the entire project. His smile faltered slightly. Of course. You'll lead the project. But obviously I'll be overseeing everything as VP. When's the meeting? Tuesday at 10. Perfect. I'll clear my calendar. I opened my folder and pulled out a single sheet of paper. Set it on his desk. Actually, Marcus, you won't need to clear your calendar. He picked up the paper. Started reading. His face went through a fascinating transformation. Confusion. Realization. Then something close to panic. This is your resignation letter. Yes, it is. Sarah, what are you doing? We just landed the biggest deal in company history. No, Marcus. I landed the biggest deal in company history. Me, the quota hire, the diversity token, the girl who's just here to check boxes. He set the paper down carefully, like it might explode. Sarah, let's talk about this. If you're upset about what I said in the meeting, I'm not upset, Marcus. I'm done. Davidson Industries offered me a position, Senior VP of Operations. The compensation package is, well, let's just say it's more than Sterling pays me in 3 years. The color drained from his face. But Sarah, you can't just leave. What about the Davidson contract? You can't take that with you. I smiled. The same smile he'd given me when he called me a quota hire. Actually, I can. I checked with legal. The contract isn't signed yet, and Davidson specifically wants to work with me personally. If I'm not here, there's no deal. That's not possible. They're contracting with Sterling and Associates, not with you personally. Are they? Because according to the terms they sent me yesterday, the entire partnership is contingent on my direct involvement. No Sarah Williams, no contract. I pulled out another document from my folder. Set it next to my resignation letter. This is Davidson's formal offer letter. As you can see, they're quite clear about their requirements. Marcus grabbed the letter, reading frantically. They can't do this. This is corporate espionage or something. It's business, Marcus. Just business. The same way you told me that calling me a quota hire was just business. He slammed the letter down on his desk. Sarah, be reasonable. We can work something out. Maybe a promotion, a raise. A promotion? Marcus, 3 days ago you told 22 people that I don't deserve to be here, that my results don't matter, that I'm just a face to make the company look diverse. And now you want to promote me? I was wrong, okay? I was completely wrong. You're obviously incredibly talented and what? You're sorry? You didn't mean it? Marcus, you meant every word. You just didn't expect there to be consequences. I stood up and closed my folder. My last day is Friday. That gives you a week to figure out how to explain to the board why Sterling and Associates just lost a $200 million contract. Sarah, please, think about what you're doing. This will destroy relationships, hurt people who had nothing to do with what I said. You should have thought about that before you humiliated me in front of the entire sales team. I walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. Oh, and Marcus, Davidson Industries isn't the only company I've been working with. Reynolds Manufacturing, Hartwell Group, and Pacific Dynamics have all expressed interest in following me to my new position. That's about $300 million in annual revenue that's about to walk out the door. His face went completely white. You can't do this to me, Sarah. I'm not doing anything to you, Marcus. I'm just a quota hire, remember? I don't have that kind of power. I left him sitting there, staring at my resignation letter, probably calculating how he was going to explain this to his boss. But the story doesn't end there, because what happened next was even better than I could have imagined. The Monday after I submitted my resignation, I was already in Chicago, setting up my new office at Davidson Industries. The view from the 42nd floor was spectacular, but nothing compared to the satisfaction of watching my phone light up with calls from Sterling and Associates. The first call came at 9:15 a.m. Marcus, of course. Sarah, we need to talk. Reynolds Manufacturing just called. They're asking specifically for you on their Q3 project. I told them you were unavailable, but they said they'd rather postpone than work with someone else. I let it go to voicemail. The second call came an hour later. This time it was Patricia Hendricks, Sterling's CEO. Sarah, this is Patricia. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Marcus filled me in on the situation, and I believe we can work something out. Can you call me back? It's urgent. I deleted that one without listening to the whole thing. By Wednesday, the calls weren't just coming from Sterling anymore. My personal phone was ringing with numbers I recognized. Clients I'd worked with over the past 3 years. Hartwell Group, Pacific Dynamics. Even smaller accounts like Morrison Tech and Silverton Holdings. The message was always the same. They wanted to follow me wherever I went. It turned out Marcus had been right about one thing. I was valuable because of my relationships. But he'd been catastrophically wrong about why those relationships existed. It wasn't because I was checking diversity boxes. It was because I'd spent 3 years proving myself to be exceptional at what I do. Thursday morning, I got a call that made everything even sweeter. Ms. Williams, this is Jennifer Chen from Business Week. I'm working on a story about executive talent retention in consulting firms, and your name came up. Would you be available for an interview? That interview ran the following Monday. The headline was, The $300 Million Exodus, When Star Consultants Take Their Clients with Them. The article detailed how my departure from Sterling had triggered what they called a client avalanche, with 4 major accounts either canceling contracts or demanding refunds to follow me to Davidson Industries. But the real bombshell came 2 weeks later when my former colleague Jessica Martinez reached out. "Sarah, we need to talk, and you need to see something." Jessica had been one of the few people in that conference room who looked genuinely uncomfortable when Marcus made his comments. She was Latina, Harvard MBA, and had been at Sterling for 4 years. We'd always gotten along, but we'd never been particularly close. We met at a coffee shop in downtown DC, away from anyone who might overhear us. "First," Jessica said, sliding an envelope across the table, "congratulations on the new job. Everyone at Sterling is talking about what happened." "Thanks. What's in the envelope?" "Evidence. Of something I think you need to know about." I opened it and found printouts of email conversations, some dating back 2 years, all from Marcus Thompson's corporate email account. I started reading, and my coffee went cold. From Marcus Thompson to Robert Sterling. Subject: Davidson account concerns. Date: March 15th, 2023. Bob: "I'm concerned about putting Sarah as lead on Davidson. She's smart, but I worry about whether she can handle the pressure of a client this size. Maybe we should have James oversee her work more closely. Don't want to risk our biggest potential account on someone untested." From Marcus Thompson to Linda Hayes, HR Director. Subject: Performance Review. Martinez, J. Date: August 3rd, 2023. Linda: "Jessica's numbers look good on paper, but I have concerns about her leadership potential. She seems to struggle with authority in meetings. Might be cultural. Recommend keeping her in an individual contributor role for now." There were dozens of them. Emails about me, about Jessica, about David Park, Korean American, Kellogg MBA, about Angela Roberts, the only other Black woman in our division. A pattern of subtle undermining, concerns about cultural fit, recommendations to pass us over for leadership roles, suggestions that our successes were team efforts rather than individual achievements. Jesus, Jessica. How did you get these? IT upgrade last month. Marcus's old emails got transferred to a shared drive temporarily before being archived. I was helping with the data migration and saw them. "Sarah, he's been doing this for years." I kept reading. Email after email of Marcus systematically sabotaging the careers of every person of color in our division. The most damning one was from 6 months ago. From Marcus Thompson to Robert Sterling. Subject: Diversity Initiative Update. Date: September 12th, 2023. Bob: "The board is pushing hard on diversity metrics. I think we need to be strategic about this. We can promote Sarah to senior consultant. Gives us good optics. But I recommend keeping her on smaller accounts where the risk is manageable. We need minorities in visible roles for the reports, but we can't afford to put major revenue at risk." I felt sick. Not because of the racism, I'd suspected that all along, but because of how calculated it was, how systematic, how many careers he'd probably derailed without anyone noticing. "Jessica, we have to do something with this. I was hoping you'd say that, because there's more." She pulled out her phone and played an audio recording. It was from the office holiday party last December. Marcus's voice, clearly intoxicated. "Look, between you and me, the diversity thing is just politics. We hire them because we have to, promote a few because it looks good. But at the end of the day, the real work gets done by people who belong here. Sarah's a perfect example. Smart enough to not embarrass us, minority enough to check the boxes, but not so ambitious that she'll cause problems." The recording went on for another 3 minutes, Marcus detailing his strategy for managing diversity hires to several other senior managers. Some pushed back, others laughed along. "Who else knows about this?" "Just me. For now. But Sarah, this could bring down half the management team. The question is, what do you want to do about it?" I stared at the emails, thinking about all the times I'd wondered if I was being paranoid, all the times I'd been passed over for projects I was more qualified for, all the times I'd been told I was lucky to have certain opportunities. I thought about Davidson Industries, about the respect I was already earning there, about the $200 million contract that Marcus thought I didn't deserve. And then I thought about Angela Roberts, who'd left Sterling 6 months ago after being passed over for promotion 3 times. About David Park, who'd been encouraged to take a lateral move to a dead-end role. About Jessica, sitting across from me, brilliant and ambitious, and being systematically held back by a man who saw her as nothing more than a diversity statistic. I know exactly what we're going to do. The first call I made was to my lawyer, not Davidson's legal team, but a personal attorney who specialized in employment discrimination cases. She was very interested in what I had to show her. The second call was to Business Week. Jennifer Chen was thrilled to hear from me again. The third call was to Robert Sterling himself. Mr. Sterling, this is Sarah Williams. I think we need to have a conversation about Marcus Thompson and about the culture at your company. The meeting was set for the following Friday. Sterling's boardroom, 2 p.m. Present would be Robert Sterling, the board of directors, Linda Hayes from HR, and Sterling's legal counsel. I brought Jessica, my lawyer, and a thick folder of evidence. Gentlemen, ladies, Robert Sterling began. Sarah has indicated she has some serious concerns about our workplace culture. Sarah, the floor is yours. I opened my folder and began distributing copies of Marcus's emails. What you're looking at is a systematic pattern of discrimination spanning at least 3 years. These emails show that Marcus Thompson has been deliberately undermining the careers of employees based on their race and ethnicity, while simultaneously using our diversity metrics to advance his own career. The room was silent as they read. I watched their faces change from skepticism to shock, to what looked like panic. Furthermore, I continued, playing the holiday party recording, we have audio evidence of Mr. Thompson explicitly stating that diversity hires are political tools rather than valued employees. When the recording finished, Robert Sterling looked like he'd aged 5 years in 5 minutes. Sarah, this is devastating. If this is accurate, it's all accurate. Every email is from Sterling's own servers. The recording is time-stamped and was made at a company function. And there's more. I pulled out another set of documents. Performance reviews. Marcus consistently rated employees of color lower than their white counterparts, despite equal or superior results. Project assignments showing minorities systematically placed on lower-value accounts. Promotion recommendations that mysteriously disappeared when they involved anyone who wasn't white. Sterling's legal counsel was frantically taking notes. Mr. Sterling, my lawyer interjected, my client isn't here seeking monetary damages. Yet. She's here because she believes in giving your company an opportunity to address this situation before it becomes public. What are you asking for? I leaned forward. Marcus Thompson's immediate termination. A full investigation into discriminatory practices in your company, public acknowledgement of the problem and concrete steps to fix it, and most importantly, justice for the employees whose careers he destroyed. And if we refuse? Then tomorrow morning, Business Week runs a story about systematic racism at one of America's most prestigious consulting firms, complete with audio recordings and internal emails. Your diversity clients, which represent about 40% of your revenue, will probably have some strong feelings about that. Robert Sterling closed his eyes and rubbed his temples. What about the Davidson contract? What about it? If we meet your demands, would you consider returning? Maybe we could work out an arrangement where you consult part-time while keeping your position at Davidson. I almost laughed. Mr. Sterling, 3 weeks ago, your VP called me a quota hire in front of 22 colleagues. Today, you're asking me to come back and save a contract worth 9 figures. Do you see the irony? Sarah, please understand. I do understand. You understand that I'm valuable when your revenue is at stake. You just don't understand that I'm valuable as a human being. I stood up and gathered my papers. You have 48 hours to decide. Fire Marcus Thompson and commit to real change, or explain to your board why Sterling and Associates is about to become a case study in corporate discrimination. Marcus was fired on Monday morning. The press release went out at noon. Sterling and Associates announces the departure of VP of Sales Marcus Thompson and the launch of a comprehensive review of workplace practices and policies. But the real satisfaction came that evening, when Jessica called me. Sarah, you're not going to believe this. Marcus cleaned out his office this afternoon. As he was leaving, he ran into Angela Roberts in the lobby. She was here for an exit interview with the investigators. When he saw her, He actually had the audacity to say, "I hope you're happy. You people finally got what you wanted." Please tell me someone heard that. Better. Building security cameras got it on tape. Angela's lawyer is very interested. 6 months later, Marcus Thompson was working as a sales associate at a mid-tier firm in Baltimore, making about a third of his sterling salary. The discrimination lawsuit filed by Angela, David, and 2 other former employees was settled out of court for an undisclosed sum, but rumor had it the number had 7 figures. Sterling and Associates implemented new diversity and inclusion protocols, hired a chief equity officer, and mandated unconscious bias training for all management staff. They also lost about 30% of their revenue when several major clients decided to take their business elsewhere. As for me, I thrived at Davidson Industries. The $200 million partnership I'd brought with me was just the beginning. Within a year, I was overseeing a team of 40 consultants across 6 countries. My compensation package was, as Mr. Davidson had promised, very attractive. But the best part wasn't the money or the title or even the satisfaction of proving Marcus Thompson wrong. The best part was the email I received last week from a young Black woman named Keisha Johnson, a recent MBA graduate who'd just been hired at Davidson Industries. "Ms. Williams," it read, "I wanted to thank you for the mentorship program you started here. As someone just beginning my consulting career, it means everything to have role models like you who've shown that excellence speaks for itself, regardless of what other people think we deserve. P.S. I heard about what happened at your previous firm. Thank you for standing up not just for yourself, but for all of us who are still fighting to be seen as more than quotas." I printed that email and hung it in my office, right next to my MBA diploma and the Business Week article that had helped change everything. Marcus Thompson was right about one thing. Revenge is just business. But sometimes, the best revenge is building something so successful, so undeniably excellent, that it becomes impossible for anyone to question whether you belong there. And sometimes, if you're really lucky, your success creates opportunities for others who deserve them just as much as you do. That's not revenge. That's justice. And justice, unlike revenge, never goes out of style.